All right, welcome to December 11th, 2024 regular meeting of the Planning Commission. We'll do a call to order and see if our applicant for our one public hearing comes. We'll start down there, Commissioner Merrick.
Roll call?
Yeah.
Okay, David Merrick, District 3, Payon, yes.
Artie Hutto, District 2, Service Creek.
Don Gardner, Planning Director.
Lane Bonus, District 2, Surface Creek.
Kate Darlington, District 3. Kate Kirk, Planner 2.
Brittany Haining, Planner 1.
Todd Queen, District 1.
Victoria Nelson, District 2.
All right, anything anyone wants to add to the agenda? Correct. Delete. No. No meeting minutes to review. The main purpose of our meeting tonight is public hearing PLN 23-06 or 016 Esparza for a conditional use permit for a salvage yard. So far, the applicants are not here. So I suppose it's up to us to decide if we want to proceed or postpone, but we're all here. I would entertain a motion either way. We've never really been in this position.
No.
But presumably we have a staff report and could make a judgment based on that staff report and recommend to the Board of County Commissioners whatever that judgment might be.
I would motion that we postpone until the applicant can be present.
Okay, anyone second that motion?
I was just gonna ask if you had their number. We could just call them and see.
We might be running a minute late.
Yeah, we could wait for a little bit.
But I would second that
Yeah.
if we can't get a hold of you.
I mean, I can try and get a hold of her again.
That would be,
If you wanna give me 5 minutes, I will run back to my office.
Okay,
that would be.
yeah,
Just
I'm
your name.
in favor of trying to get a hold of them and waiting for a few more minutes just to give them a fair chance. Maybe we can move on to the department report if there's anything Sean would like to speak about or anything else that
Sure.
we want to add to the agenda at this point.
You have somebody from the public here, which I noticed is not on our agenda for anything that's not on the posted agenda. If the public wants to speak, you guys could do that as well.
Sure.
I'm fine either way.
Sure, we can open it up to public comment, not related to the hearing. Chuck, you just here to listen, or do you want to add anything?
No, I'm just.
All right, then go ahead.
I got a letter from Sean, I guess, or from, Everett, one of the guys in my stale when my, application went, stale. I didn't think it stunk at all, but. You know, that remains to be seen. I really don't have anything to say, just listening and see how it goes.
Okay,
Thanks for asking.
then I propose we hand it over to Sean for a little while, if there's anything to kind of update us on with what's going on with the planning department, or if we want to kind of just have an open discussion about priorities going forward.
Great. I think I invited all of you successfully to an affordable housing assessment presentation. Did you all receive that email? In that invitation, there's also a link to a Dropbox file of a draft of that assessment. And I also sent out a link to a recording of that presentation. It was done online. So if you all received it, it looks like, as I'm getting head nods, so that's good.
Victoria joined.
Yeah, Victoria, you there? Jacob was on, I think, too. And, so basically, it's just it's a tool, the beginning of a tool that we could use. It created a site suitability model based on criteria of most pertinent information for affordable housing location. Proximity, things like proximity to highways, growth management areas around municipalities, healthcare, services and schools. It also, it ranked these, these criteria. On location, and ownership of the property, was it owned by a municipality, is private? And also some environmental constraints. They weren't able to get a lot of good data on infrastructure, so that didn't play a part in the ranking of the locations, but nonetheless, it's a tool that we can use and build on. So I just wanted to mention that. I really wasn't a part of the application nor the whole process of its development, caught it at the tail end and just received it and shared it. So I see what it does. I don't know exactly how it fits into a strategy for us in creating affordable housing in Delta County, but we do have a Proposition 123 commitment to creating more affordable housing in Delta County as a county, up to 43 units within the next 3 years, and we're already at half a year into that. And I'm not sure about all the parameters of that either, like if they're in municipalities, does that count? Because they're in our county or not, for instance. So they'll have a bit of ignorance about how that's all, what's been done before about that, and don't have a lot of clarity about where we're going in the future with that. But this is what we have and I've shared so far. Did you have some questions?
I was just gonna mention, if anyone didn't watch it, that the 2 top areas they chose was Cedar Edge and Delta.
Yeah.
So it was, we priorly saw like a presentation on it, and it was a college student. We ranked our priorities for affordable housing. And what the student had said was that Crawford was high on the list. And all of us were just kind of like,
No, that's not.
yeah. So it was refreshing to hear that they had actually, with this information, chose Delta and Cedar Ridge.
Any other questions or comments on that?
Is there any funding involved with this proposition where?
Well, there potentially could be. I mean, we could use it to go after funding.
Okay.
The study could prepare a proposal.
Okay.
Did we get a DOLA grant?
We just did get a DOLA grant, but that was not really a part of this, but part of what we applied for, we probably applied for 2 projects. One was to facilitate the development of accessory dwelling units, which they're allowed use in all zones in our county, so it's not like, there's many barriers to people doing it currently, but one of the things we wanted to use that, the money for that project for was to research water supply and availability of the many water companies we have in Delta County, and to do a survey and an inventory of their policies with regard to ADUs. You add an ADU, it's a 1-bedroom ADU onto your house, are you going to be required to get a water tap or not? Also to research maybe some augmentation, adding on to an existing septic system, if there are any solutions for that. So we can get hopefully some decent, information about our water companies, their available supply, their policies with regard to ADUs, and come up maybe with some ideas of how we could make it easy for people to, I don't know, expand their septic systems, if that's possible or permissible, I don't know. And then some other things we wanted to look into there were what are possible incentives for people that would want to put an ADU in as an affordable housing option. And that would be like, you're gonna have to have a rent cap, on that. But that could maybe work for somebody that maybe has a family member or something they're trying to house, or a caregiver or a farm worker, or I don't know, but it's to explore that possibility. And then put what we find together into a step-by-step guide. Just to make it easy and simple and put that out to people as a pathway for, you know, putting an ADU onto your existing house.
And then what was the second project?
Second project is, researching our, IT needs as the environmental health, planning, engineering, and GIS. We all deal with people. For these permits, they don't know what department to go to for what, and they just come to the county, you know, and they come to planning. And it's, I think that we could bring a lot more efficiency into our operation. And, so,
Discrepancy between
yeah.
each one of them.
I don't know what you might be referring to, but maybe yes, probably.
Like 2 addresses versus 3.
Okay.
There's one just right off the top.
Yeah. We have siloed information, siloed communications. We try to bridge that by, you know, having meetings all together by departments, but anyway, it's to kind of assess like what are the technical requirements that we need. And then, there is a state internet portal authority grant that may be available in February that we could go after if we can get this far enough along to apply for that grant. And then they'll issue and award that in April. And if we can do this right, we might be able to get the money to select a software and, develop it, you know, migrate our data and do all that stuff in 2025. But I do see that we have our applicants, so you know, if we want to move to that.
Yeah, it looks like our applicant, Mrs. Sparza, has joined us via Zoom. So with that, I'll have staff begin with a staff report for the project, or I guess I'll open up the public hearing for PLN 23-016. I'll have staff give their report and then give Mrs. Sparza a chance to speak to the project if she wishes. It looks like we don't have any other public here for comment on this project. So we'll start with staff report.
Alrighty. So, again, the application before you tonight is PLN 23-016 Esparza. This is for consideration of a conditional use permit for a salvage yard. The project is located on the north side of F Road in Delta. The parcel is a 9.58 acre parcel in the A20 zoning district. A code compliance case was opened in 2021 with the requirement of a mitigation plan. The mitigation plan being a conditional use permit for the salvage yard. Access is existing from F Road for the property. No domestic water is required for this development as there is no office or staff on site. Domestic water is existing for the residences. And there is an OWTS permit on file for the existing residences and will not be impacted by this operation. The project site is located on the north side of F Road and is approximately 3.39 miles southeast of the city of Delta. Pursuant to the 2021 LUC, a conditional use permit is required for a salvage yard in the A20 district. So this is the site plan. It illustrates the existing features and structures on the property. As illustrated here by the star, that is the existing location of the salvage yard area, which is located on the back side of the property away from the existing residences. As you can see here, the traveled surface to the salvage area is to the west of the leach field and will not impact or disturb the septic. Staff has recommended 5 conditions which were included in the staff report. Staff has reviewed the application to the standards as required by the code and feels that the applicants have met all standards for the conditional use permit. Issuance of the permit will bring the existing operation into compliance with the land use code regulations and will close the code compliance case. So with that, staff recommends that the planning commission make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners to find that PLN 23-016 Esparza complies with the 2021 land use code for a salvage yard requiring a conditional use permit. And approve PLN 23-016 Esparza, a conditional use permit for a salvage yard located at 20463 F Road in Delta, subject to conditions. That concludes my presentation.
All right, I'll move on to questions of the staff. If there's any commission members that have questions for Kate or other staff members in regards to this application, we'll just go around the table. Commissioner Merrick?
I have a question about any kind of screening or fencing.
There's nothing in the code that requires it,
I
so
didn't see it either, but that's. The, I know it's set back from the road, is it? I mean, I looked at the pictures, but I couldn't tell. I
like, are you
couldn't-
asking if it's visible from the road?
Yeah, I couldn't see it from the road.
From what I remember being out there, it is not. But I think it depends on what road you're coming down and what your angle is.
But the code doesn't say anything about screening the salvage yard.
You can certainly add that condition to what we've recommended if that's something your commission wants to do.
That's the only question I have.
All right, Commissioner Hutto?
On the posting, it went out on the 4th and it's meeting on the 11th, that's norm for that? That fast, or is it supposed to be longer than that? or-
What are you?
The
referring to
agenda
the
was
agenda?
posted.
Oh, the agenda was posted, that's what I'm talking about this.
Yeah, that's just the agenda. That's not the notice.
So any houses, there's nothing like straight away looking at this, that we're looking at it already, already here, right?
It's been there for a while.
Nobody here.
All right, anything else? Any other questions? Commissioner Bronis, do you have any questions?
No, the way it's situated there, I see no reason for any screening. It's back enough, far enough from the F road there that, most people probably won't even notice it.
All right, I don't have any questions. And where are we? Over to Commissioner Queen. Like, who wants to here on the commission?
I don't see anything in our land use code. Is there anything by way of mitigating fuels and things like that that may be in these vehicles and fire hazards?
It was,
I think there's really much in those.
there's not in the code. It was sent to the referral agencies and there was somebody from the state that gave us standards that should be followed for hazardous materials in automotive vehicles, but they're not emptying fluids. They're not doing anything like that. It is strictly for storing the vehicles until they take it to Montrose Rec.
What if those vehicles are leaking those fluids?
I asked the question. They said they should put down something underneath the vehicles, but that's about all that I got. And the fire department did respond and they did not have any comments.
All right, and Commissioner Nelson.
No question.
Okay. I think with that, we'll move on to Zoom, to the applicants. Ms. Esparza, if you have anything to add about the project, or anything to clarify, let us know.
Hello, everybody. Well, no, I don't want to add nothing. Everything is just like that, and I would like to resolve all the problems to have accumulation of some cars and everything. I would like to do everything with permit.
Okay. Do any commissioners have any questions for the applicant?
Questions?
All right, there's no public on Zoom, is there? Okay, so there's no public comment to hear. We didn't receive any written public comment. So with that, I think we could begin discussion or entertain motions to recommend approval or not, or add conditions. Oh,
Is there room for public comment on this?
oh, sure, yeah, do you have,
Yeah.
okay, if you wanna, we know you, but will you address the microphones with your name and address for the record?
Hi, my name's Charles Cherrick, 5607 2000 Road. The only thing that I didn't hear is they have a roadway or they're going back off the property, but nobody mentioned, are they gonna gravel that road? How wide's it gonna be? The entrance on the F road, to try and keep the mud off of F road. And, it's obviously a concern. The 1900 road is just about ready to blow up this spring, you know, from the concrete plant. So we should look at some of those things that are really impactful and financially straining on the county. No matter where they go, I mean, you have to have at least a 12, 14-foot wide road. And the ingress probably has to be 30 feet wide to swing a semi in there, you know, because they are obviously eventually gonna have to go to the crusher. And you can't, as far as hauling them, you can't really, unless you tarp the bottom, you have to drain all the fluids before you can even take them into a junkyard. You know, like up in Olathe, he's getting a lot of heat right now from, you know, having gasoline, having oil in them, having antifreeze in them. So those are things you might want to look at, just from the standpoint of, as far as the salvage yard isn't a problem. But in and out of the salvage yard, you should make some recommendations, or, you know, we have to have a gravel road, we have to have something. That's all I have to say. I mean,
Okay.
I like junk, so.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kate,
Yes, Commissioner Bronis.
I read somewhere, I can't find it now, but the applicant had stated that there would be no gasoline, no wiper fluid, any of that stuff in the vehicles when he brought them out there, and they were gonna be parked on a hard surface. I don't know if he plans to, you know, gravel that area and compact it, I don't know, but he said they were gonna be, the cars were gonna be parked on a hard surface. And I can't find that now, of course.
Hard surface, huh?
Was that part of the business plan?
I would assume it's in there. There's, see if I can find it.
So there is, now, wood chips and gravel, I understand. Going to the same.
That would be a question for the applicant. I'm not sure what exactly is in it.
I read somewhere. Wood chips, gravel.
All right, maybe we can open it back up to Ms. Esparza to answer some clarifying questions. I'm hearing one question being what the current status of the road that goes into your property is, what it's composed of, as well as the surface where the cars are being parked. Could you clarify that for us, please?
Yeah, the road has some of the road has gravel, and we are planning to continue adding more to the directly to the storage of the cars. And also, this is not gonna be like a regular salvage yard, because it's just, like I said before in my application, it's just one truck pulling a trailer, utility trailer with another car. So it's not like a really heavy trucks that is going to the back of the property. And so this is not like a commercial yard. It's more like just to self-employment for my dad, just to moving cars by himself. So it's not like kind of really like something big that I'm requested. It's just for my dad. He's retired, so probably he's gonna keep doing this for another couple years. It's just something to keep him busy and at the same time to resolve the problem for accumulation of some things that I have on my property. To resolve this matter and then keep cleaner and of course upgrade a little bit more the road and everything.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I also have a question about, we've been hearing a couple concerns about fluids. Do the cars that you and your dad bring in, are they already drained of fluid, or is there a requirement that you know of? Or not? Can you
Most-
speak to whether the cars are holding fluid, but you don't plan on draining them? Or whether?
No, we're not planning to take out the fluids because most of those cars we brought it from the auctions, and some of those cars are ready just to sell by weight. All the metal, all the scrap doesn't has any value, or some cars don't even has like some parts like fluids or and things like that. So that's why we don't planning to remove any fluids from the cars.
Okay, but you do receive the vehicles with fluids in them?
No, as far as I know, no.
Okay.
But hold on, give me a second. Let me see some of the invoices so I can look it up and clarify very sure. Give me a second. Yeah, so most of the cars are drained. Some came with some cooling. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Do any commissioners have any further questions for Mrs. Sparsa as some issues have come up? Commissioner Merrick?
I just want to clarify, if I read the application right, there are no semi trucks coming in and out of the property. I understand from the application that you bring in one vehicle at a time on a trailer pulled by perhaps a pickup truck, is that right?
Yes, sir. Just one vehicle at a time, because like I said before, and it's in my plan review. We're gonna use a Dodge truck, and pulling a utility trailer just with a capacity for one car at once.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Anyone else?
Question for staff.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Sparsa. Commissioner Hutto has a question for staff.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
I'm wondering what sets this applicant apart from everybody else in the world or in Delta County that's doing this all over? It sounds personal use to me. I mean, how do you draw the line between this and every other 900 houses here doing the same thing?
Because a complaint was issued and the code compliance case was open, so it needs to be mitigated.
Can you speak closer to the microphone because I don't hear what he say?
I don't have it.
Yeah, speak up, party.
I was just asking the staff what the difference is between your property and everybody else's that in Delta County that does this, and they replied that it's because there was a complaint brought forward. Yes. So that's it.
Was the difference, I'm sorry, I having problems to hear you. The difference to my property with someone else's property to do this?
Mrs. Sparsa, Commissioner Hutto's question was for staff to answer. His question is what set your property or this project apart from other properties or other people in the county doing the same thing? The staff's
Oh,
answer
okay.
was that because there was a complaint brought forward, there had to be a mitigation plan and a resolution to that.
Oh, okay.
For the sheet violation.
Junk and rubbish.
One other question for the staff. I know I already touched on it, but the wrong way, because I was misunderstood. This was, broadcasted properly.
Noticed?
Noticed,
Yeah.
whatever, properly.
Yes.
Everything was dotted all your i's and crossed all your t's, right?
Mhm.
Making sure. But I just noticed there's nowhere here, and I can see what's coming down the pipe.
I don't know what you mean by that, but we did not receive any comments from the public, so.
Well, one of them complained, obviously, right? You think there'd be one of them? And there's not.
I don't control the neighbors and their responses, so.
I have one more question for the staff regarding the staff's recommendations. If I read this correctly, the recommendation for approval includes a condition that essentially the business plan is followed and other supporting documentation. So this, if we recommend approval, we're recommending it within the confines of the business plan that was presented, not kind of wholesale. They can do whatever they want to do moving forward that is still considered a salvage yard.
So it'll be based on the business, and I put plans because there was some responses into the referral agencies. There was some clarification there, so those are all included. And then the site plans, there are multiple ones, the one that I showed you, there was another one that have an aerial, just so that they are all part of the application. And the 30 cars at a time being stored, that was something out of the business plan, so that's what we are going with.
Okay. And any changes to that general plan would require like a new application or an update to their
Any
permit?
significant modification would have to come back to the planning commission and then to the board.
Okay.
So if they wanted to go from 30 cars to 200 cars, that's a that's a significant modification to the application. So it wouldn't be a new one, it would just be amending this permit if it moves forward.
And then, this did go to engineering. And there will be a series of traffic studies if need be
Mhm.
that would address, the public comment about impact to the road.
Yeah, so level 1's required for all conditional uses, and then if that triggers more than 20% increase to the road, it'll go to a level 2, possibly a level 3. So engineering is working on that.
Okay. Are there any,
Conditions back up on the conditions.
Not include the conditions in there, but we can pull up the staff report.
Brittany? Can you pull up the staff report that includes the
Oh, I didn't
conditions?
know that I was doing that. Got the, hold on, easy.
Dare you?
You just want the condition?
Yeah, I'm just trying.
Maybe a little.
Okay.
There we go.
Why is that?
All right, so Hardy, the conditions are I would ask that we, if we're done with questions for the, staff and for the applicant, that we, move on to discussion. Yes.
Junk and rubbish is not in the land use code. That is a code compliance. That's a different resolution that's separate from the code.
Virginia, I think if we,
It's on the code compliance page, so yeah.
All right, Commissioner Hutto had asked that we bring this conversation back to the whole group. I think maybe we should kind of go around the room, take a pulse, if there's any concerns that come up that we need further answers to. And then if at any point anyone would like to move in one way or the other, of course, we'd entertain that. Maybe we'll start on the other side of the room this time. Commissioner Nelson, do you have any thoughts, questions, concerns?
I'm kind of in the same boat of exactly what she violated and, if it's really necessary to make this a conditional use for a personal, as Heidi said, they're basically probably doing the same thing and it's not hurting anyone. So to have property for almost no reason, except for one. It's just doesn't feel right.
Commissioner Queen, do you have anything right now or you wanna? Okay. I guess I would just counter Commissioner Nelson's point by saying that even if there's other people in the county also out of compliance, doesn't mean that this applicant that was flagged can continue out of compliance. It was brought to the county and this was sounds like kind of the best mitigation solution was to get them a permit to continue to do what they're doing. And it seems like it was deemed not a personal use, it was deemed a commercial enterprise because they're purchasing cars and then selling them.
But did she have compliance or are we just going through the process because it was compliant?
Maybe staff can clarify that.
The code compliance is not for me to make that judgment. That was for our code compliance officer but it has, like, I'm not gonna get into the weeds on the code compliance case because that is not for me to discuss. It's that there was a mitigation plan that they agreed to and that included a conditional use permit for a salvage yard.
All right, Commissioner Bronis, do you have anything to add?
I don't know how to rate the capacities of fire extinguishers, but if they're going to dismantle cars, I'm sure there's gonna be a cutting torch involved. And I would recommend that they have adequate fire extinguishers. Now, I don't know how to define adequate.
As far as I read the business plan and the application, there's no mention of cutting cars or dismantling them in any way. Anything else?
Just thought I'd read that they were going to buy salvage cars and save what they could. That's the way I understood it, and then take everything else down to rectal metals and nodules. And didn't I read that in there someplace? And if we're going to dismantle them, I would imagine that most wrecking yards would have a torch on hand, and just in case there's a fire, I think they should consider at least having a few fire extinguishers around. That's just a recommendation.
Okay. Commissioner Hutto?
I'm having a hard time with it because, the same thing that Victoria is talking about. But I don't, voting, the wrong way wouldn't help them. I'm trying to help them out, get out of this situation that someone put them in. So, I guess it would be a conditions deal. If the conditions aren't there, I'd be, I'd feel a little better about not conditioning someone's private property and their private property rights with nobody here complaining and half this county in the same way, so.
Are there any,
Out of their hardship,
Commissioner Hutto, are there any specific conditions of this
like all of them.
plan?
That's what I believe. You know, the private property, personal private property, especially with one person just doing his thing as a private citizen, that I can't say that there's not hundreds and hundreds of other ones doing the same thing. So I don't wanna do them an injustice by all the work they've done, but I don't wanna impose anything on them that I don't think is fair. Especially without nobody contesting this as of right now. So they've been doing this for however long right now, and why are we changing? Because Zong made a phone call. It's a little different. I mean, if you call it grandfathered in, maybe, I don't know if we do that before all this fancy new code compliance stuff came in, or what? But it's gonna happen. I was born and raised here, I've watched it for 42 years. That's it.
All right, Commissioner Rea?
I understand the concern of various commissioners that this goes on throughout the county, and that is a problem, but we gotta start somewhere. And these people are here and they're wanting to move forward with their project, and this is the way that we have to do it. They've submitted an application. I think it meets the requirements of land use code, and I would make a motion that we recommend to the commissioners that, PLN 23-016, meets the requirements of land use code. And we recommend that the commissioners approve the conditional use permit with staff recommendations.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I think we can do all in favor.
No further discussion?
Sure, we can, we can further discuss. Commissioner Queen?
So if I heard correctly, if they ventured far from this business plan, they would have to come back to the planning commission. That's correct.
Correct.
So my concern with going about it this way is forcing somebody that is just trying to do something on a property is one thing, working them to go this route. Now, it's very hard to distinguish them from what they're trying to do and an actual salvage yard that needs to have some restrictions put on it. Fences, fire suppression. Now you're gonna have to follow a whole new electrical code because you have combustible fuels on your property. Like, it gets big by putting it into this scenario, in my opinion. And I don't want that for them. I want for them to be able to continue to do what they're doing. That's my struggle. Of course, I don't know that that's, I guess maybe it's an option to prove it without any conditions, but then I guess we just hope that if they do change over to like, okay, now we're big time.
They've got 0 employees. They've got all these things, that this is not a business.
Right. So if that changes, then I would say, okay, there needs to be.
I totally agree.
Yeah, no.
What they're telling me right now,
I
these
agree.
conditions match what they're doing. I think they're doing what they have to do because someone's holding their feet to the fire. Yeah, bringing a salvage yard, you probably need way more conditions than that. That's not what this is. Salvage yards don't run off of one old man with a Dodge pickup trying to make a living.
No, I'm completely.
But also, there's nothing in our code that says a salvage yard has so many employees. I mean, it's going off of what is in the code. And that's what we have to go off of.
We can swing that gate both ways, Kate. Like I said, stuff like this gets out. We could have 50 of these in here tomorrow.
Good.
And if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
It's, I can't control what may or may not happen down the road or to other people or.
Property rights, maybe, but you call it one thing, I call it another. And I'm not big into.
All right, I'm gonna call us back into a slightly more orderly conversation for the folks that have to write the minutes. Sounds like there's still some concern about kind of bigger philosophical concern about whether this is the right way our county should move forward with this sort of complaint or this sort of project or activity on a property.
We're looking more of the code compliance part right now, to see where we're at on that.
Those case files are not.
Point of order.
There's a motion, it's been
Yes.
seconded.
Yeah,
Yes.
We discuss it, or we vote. I think we should vote.
Okay, Ms.
I have
Nelson.
a little further discussion, and that is just that I don't really see the relevance of, first of all, number 2. I mean, what do the weeds have to do with the salvage yard? Second of all, number 3. I mean, like we're saying, it's one guy and one truck. He's pulling one car. If he's pulling that past his gate at 450, is that enough to get him fined? You know, that's just not right. It's one guy pulling one car. Can I not do that at my house? It doesn't make any sense to me why we're imposing a time limit on when this person can have any operation on the property when it's not a commercial use. I mean, all the way from number 1, I feel like there is some relevance there. I feel like, you know, having more than 30 cars. Putting some limit on how many cars can be there at one time. I do see how that can be relevant, but everything else on this list, I don't agree with, and I would be willing to discuss a motion to pass that, eliminating all those other. So that was all.
So what I'm hearing is there's potentially some interest in amending the motion. We can proceed a couple ways.
On the motion.
So, yeah, we can vote on the motion and second it and move, you know, entertain a second, another motion that changes some of the language here. I think that's probably the best way to proceed. Unless Commissioner Merrick wants to amend his own motion at this point. Okay. Okay, let's do, all in favor of the motion to recommend approval with staff conditions, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. It's a tie. Yeah. Yes, Commissioner Nelson.
I just
Yeah.
have a question on what's really holding your hands together when it comes to these conditions, why they're so important.
It's not,
Well, it is that.
it's not
I can-
specific just to
yeah.
this. This is required for conditional use permits.
So I-
Doesn't matter if it's a salvage yard, a gravel pit, this is what is by the code, which was in your staff report, which area of the code and what they needed or didn't need.
What goes on?
Give me a minute and I will figure out if your bylaws have something specific to that.
Victoria, I could speak to why I voted in favor. I think it comes down to reading of the code. The reason my reading of the reason why the noxious weeds condition was included in there was because of chapter 4, section 7 on environmental quality. Weeds are part of that section, and the staff concluded that they didn't think this was a problem, but that if there are noxious weeds on the property that need to be removed, it's part of the environmental quality of requirements of our code for this type of permit. I agree with you on the limited hours is potentially, I could take or leave that. I think as a whole, this applicant has proceeded into the process willingly to resolve the issue, and I think recommending denial of the project just sets them back. And requires a whole nother process of them or to come up with some other mitigation plan, and for whatever reason, the code compliance officer, the county has decided this is the best path forward for them to continue doing what they're doing without a lot of restrictions on that.
So as far as your bylaws go, there's nothing in there about tie breaking. However, Robert's rule says that when there is a tie, the motion is lost.
Okay.
But we're talking about another motion.
So according to Robert's rules, the motion did not pass because we are at a tie. Next step, I think, would be to entertain a motion potentially from one of the other commissioners that potentially wants to change some of the language in the conditions. Is anyone ready for that?
I would motion that we approve. Three dash 016 as far as this being.
I want to clarify Commissioner Queen's motion is to recommend approval essentially with just number 1 on the staff conditions and to strike number 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
Okay.
So you want all of number 1 or just any significant modification or any change?
To me, I read that the last line on number 1 is saying any significant modification shall require an amendment to this.
Yeah, I think all of number 1 is fine. That's in the site plan business plan and application packet. Hear that. Any significant modification should require an amendment to be considered by the. Yeah.
Okay. Did I hear a second on that motion?
I second it.
Commissioner Hutto second that motion. Anyone have any further discussion before we vote on that one?
I do.
Commissioner Merrick?
The other conditions that are being removed are number 2, that's required by statute. You gotta take care of your noxious weeds, whether it's in the approval or not. The only one that is questionable, I'd say, and same way with the other statute about noise and the other one about traffic volume, that seems to be beneficial to the county, that if it changes, the new county access permit. The only one that I don't see that is required by statute or the land use code is the operation taking place from 8 AM to 4 PM.
And that is from the business plan, by the
Yeah,
way.
the full use of the property, though, right now. There's nothing right now, so.
Well, that's,
So-
that's part of the commitments.
So, but my question would be, if that's a state statute required of all persons, is it necessary to be in our conditions? Like, that's something that we're all responsible.
We put it in conditions all the time, even ones that you guys have previously approved.
All right, all in favor of Commissioner Queen's motion to approve PLN 23-016 with only the staff condition number 1 striking number 2, 3, 4, and 5. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3, all opposed, all opposed, say nay. No, I'm gonna abstain from this one, I think. I forgot to vote yay, I think either way. Whether I abstain or vote yay, motion passes. 2 nays. And 4, yeah, motion passes. So with that, PLN 23-016 is is recommended for approval with condition number 1 from the staff recommendations. Ms. Esparza, you will be moved forward to the Board of County Commissioners, who will take a final vote on your project.
Okay.
And if there's anyone out there listening, there's still one more chance for the public to come forward. And staff will get in touch with the applicant about the scheduling of that next process. With that, I'll close the public hearing. We did a department report. Was there anything else, Sean, that you wanted to add to department report?
Not at this time. Well, one thing, I want to discuss land use code revisions, and maybe a possible way to work together with the planning commission to address those. Last meeting, I recall you saying that there's a list of revisions that were left over, unaddressed, or desired, right? I don't have that list. I don't know where that list is. I'd like to have it. I'd like to see if maybe if there's a gap in our nations or something, you're or schedule a work session where we could discuss a list. Revisions. Does that sound like, how could we cooperate in that?
Yeah, I think Commissioner Gray probably has a record somewhere
Okay.
of further amendments or edits that we've been talking about over the last year or more. I will make sure he brings that if he's got it. I would open it up to any of the commissioners right now if there's anything priority wise or that you recall wanting to kind of address in our next edit. I know affordable housing has been kind of thrown around. I don't know if there's any space for that in the land use code itself. You know, you're obviously already working on that. Density, the issue of density comes up over and over again. I know that Steve Schrock was always wanting to address more kind of impact fees of various sorts. I don't know if anyone else has the interest in that. It's probably on Commissioner Gray's list as a relic.
So I can
But-
just reach out to Commissioner Gray.
Yeah, he likely has a more succinct list than I do anywhere.
Okay.
Does anyone else have a kind of priority areas?
Intergovernmental agreement.
Sean was mentioning earlier, there's two areas identified as potential locations for affordable housing. I would be adamantly opposed to Cedar Edge being one of them, because there's only one main artery serving that. That's Highway 65. And you cannot get on there from 8 o'clock, from 6 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock in the morning, because it's wall-to-wall traffic. It's wall-to-wall going north from 4 o'clock till 6 o'clock every night. And unless the state's gonna 3-lane that in spots, that traffic is just, it's unbearable. And we certainly don't need any more people up there at this time right now.
I second that.
Yeah, I agree. Felt good about it.
I find it hard that they're even voting for that just because of the water situation and the cost.
I don't think anyone's voted for anything. I think in the analysis of what we as commissioners and other, you know, as they did their study, how to prioritize suitable locations, Cedar Edge kind of ticked a lot of boxes.
Right now, Delta should be the only
It
one.
would be great though, but affordable part is the problem. hit that, come back to the
Money
affordable.
issue.
It's not,
Not,
Great.
that area, it's not affordable.
I would love to see us, and I don't know if it's a work session, but have some type of conversation with the county commissioner to get an idea of what they would like to see change. I feel like we put a ton of work in the last revision that we did.
Yeah.
For it to all go the wrong way.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that at all. I don't wanna do anything like that. There are
Yeah.
some places as we use it where we're finding the language is challenging, you know, and it needs maybe a tweak or two. And those are at the front end of light adjustments, you know. I know that there are some other more substantial issues and areas but I'd like to just at least establish a list and priorities. That's what I'd like to have, and then I know what to work on.
how do you recommend we get over this hump on affordable housing? Cause it's just always there and nothing ever happens. How do you think we're gonna get past this hump over affordable housing with like rent restrictions on top of it, but cost of building through the roof?
I don't have a solution for that, and
So
if
we
you
have-
do, I'm already.
Well, we can keep saying affordable housing is the top of our list, but I've been here 3 years and we haven't
Be
built.
subsidized.
That's the only way.
The land.
Yeah. And I've seen other affordable housing projects in other counties, municipalities, and that's exactly it.
So maybe we should go on. a
Huge
different-
capital stack of grants.
Yeah, maybe we should go after the grants and then that will bring in, instead of go after the plan and then chase the grants. Maybe we should get the grant.
I think as a planning department and planning commission, our tools are somewhat limited.
Mhm.
Obviously it's subsidized through tax incentives or through grant funding or whatever. That's a whole other ball game that we don't really have any say or ability to influence, other than to kind of add our voice to the several in the county saying this is something we wanna see, and then to address land use issues as they come up with how, you know, how we can use land use tools to facilitate that and protect certain resources or public interest, but yeah, I think unfortunately our part in it is only so large.
I think the only way to halfway get around that problem would be to incentivize some developer to build like a bunch of tract homes. I mean, that's the only way you're gonna get affordable. You're not gonna, you know, like Tate's building all those homes up there. He's a developer.
Yeah.
But none of those homes are gonna be less than at least $500,000 there. Up to $1.5 million probably.
None of that's affordable.
No.
That's what I keep saying. Affordable is a funny word.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
What-
the cost of
what's-
putting it there is not affordable. So let's just stop talking about affordable. It's not.
Yeah, I think let's see what Jake has kind of on a list, and I would propose that next meeting we at least review that list as a commission and help the staff focus where we think our priorities are in terms of addressing some of those things, whether they're small or large. I would echo Commissioner Queen's request that at some point we hear either a report from the Board of County Commissioners or have a joint work session where we can discuss what they see our role is, where they wanna go, how they wanna approach doing edits, cause I agree, I don't really wanna go down a rabbit hole of edits if there's no kind of appetite from the Board of County Commissioners to go in those directions.
When does the new commissioner shift to the floor here? What happens then?
January 15th.
Yeah.
And our next meeting is the 8th, scheduled meeting is the 8th, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. Is there anything on the agenda for that meeting yet?
not
Not
at the
yet.
moment,
Okay,
but possibly.
Anticipate.
yeah, okay. And then our annual meeting is the February meeting,
Yes.
okay.
And on that note, there's 3 commissioners that, whose terms are expiring. Cindy Watson, Victoria, no, sorry, Hardy. And you, Kate.
So those require a reapplication.
Yes,
Can staff send or do they typically send a email with instructions or who to address that application
It's
to?
all online now. There's a form embedded in the system, so if you just go to, if you search planning commission, it'll pull up all the boards and just click apply and it's all embedded in the website.
Okay. And do you know I assume there's a deadline
I think
before
it's
the
the end
annual
of
meeting?
January. It should say on the paper you have. When their term expires, the date, or do you not have that one?
yeah, the end of January.
Okay.
For those that have, whose term expires, yes.
Okay. Any other housekeeping or updates?
That'll be it.
January 8th.
All right. Sounds good. With that, I will close the meeting. It is 6:36.
Nice work.